A lot of you guys thought that the trip mine spam Ahamkhara's build was dead after Bungie announced the nerf to trip mines with Lightfall, but with the new mods and new fragments, I'm actually able to spam my trip mine grenades faster than ever before. This is the strongest PvP hunter build hands down, especially for a game mode like Trials of Osiris. I've used it so much already this season to go flawless multiple times. This build absolutely suffocates the opposition. They won't be able to move 2 steps without triggering a trip mine, which has an absolutely absurd cone radius that can decimate multiple people near it. It hits for well over 150 damage and then scorches enemies for 7 on each tick, leaving them minuscule health. With the right aspect and fragment setup, we actually get 66% of our grenade energy back for just damaging an enemy with the trip mine. And then in combination with the new mod system, we practically get the rest of the grenade energy back, so we're ready to throw another grenade instantly. It's absurd. Just look at the amount of pressure I'm putting on multiple opponents here with these explosive trip mines and throwing knives. We also generate so many orbs of power and fire sprites with this build that you'll constantly have your trip mine up thanks to the way our solar build and armor mods are set up. Remember to give the video a thumbs up if you found any of what I've talked about useful. Dim link for the build will be in the Discord, link for which will be in the comments or description below. At the heart of this build is young Ahamkhara's spine, the hunter exotic gloves, which actually give a ton of benefits that aren't even displayed on its description. Let's go through them all. It makes the explosion have 14% more damage. It makes the explosion have a much greater cone with which it can hit people. 14 meters length and width is absolutely ridiculous, trust me. The explosions no longer deal self damage as well, so that's a huge bonus. And then the trip mines actually become much more durable. They gain 100 health now and they have 50% damage resist. They literally are like a 10 resilience guardian, only they're so hard to hit because they're tiny. So enemies literally have to spend several seconds destroying them, and in that time you can reposition or even push them aggressively. Our grenades also get fastball, so you can yeet them across the map, so you don't need fastball on at all. It also lets solar ability damage recharge 33% of your trip mine grenade energy, and with Ember of Ashes, this makes it count as double ability damage and lets you recharge double, yes, 66% of your energy with one explosion. The big change in Lightfall that makes this build even easier to spam in my eyes is the introduction of the mod Reaper, which is absolutely broken on Hunter specifically. For the first time ever, we can force an orb of power to spawn easily on a kill after we use our dodge. And in this build, we will constantly be using our dodge to get our grenade energy back thanks to our mods, which I'll go over now. So on our cloak, apart from Reaper, we run 2 stacks of Bomber so that whenever we dodge, we gain back a chunk of our grenade energy. So whenever your dodge is up, use it, you'll get your trip mine back and also spawn an orb of power on your next kill. On our boots, I run 2 stacks of innovation and then 1 stack of absolution. Now when we pick up an orb of power, we get the maximum amount of grenade energy back. 3 stacks of innovation has massive diminishing returns, so I prefer 2 stacks of it with 1 stack of absolution. On my gauntlets, I run 1 grenade kickstart, which gives us back a chunk of our grenade energy instantly when we throw our trip mine. We'll also be getting armor charge thanks to the orbs we generate, so you can get even more grenade energy back thanks to this mod. The rest of the mods I run are the relevant targeting, dexterity and unflinching mods. Remember to pick up the artifact perks authorized mods for whichever energy type of weapons you are using, as this reduces the energy requirements for a lot of the mods I'm using. We've made some considerable changes to our Solar 3.0 build as well in comparison to my old video on this build. So I'm running Marksman's dodge as it has a shorter cooldown than Gambler's dodge, allowing me to spam my dodge and get my grenade energy back more often. We then run Strafe Jump, Proximity Throwing Knife, which also scorches enemies and gives back a chunk of your grenade energy thanks to young Ahamkhara's spine, and obviously Trip Mine Grenade, which is the center of this build. For our aspects, we run On Your Mark, which gives you a massive bonus to handling whenever you dodge, which you're going to be doing a lot of in this build, and it also gives you 3 fragment slots. And then we run Knock 'em Down, which makes our Blade Barrage even stronger, which is going to help in those clutch Trials of Osiris rounds where you need a super kill. For our fragments, the most important fragment is Ember of Ashes, as you will get more grenade energy refunded from your trip mine damage thanks to the exotic. Ember of Singeing is also important because it refunds our dodge when we scorch targets. We are constantly scorching people from our trip mines and proximity knife here. Ember of Beam, so our Blade Barrage super has tracking and we don't whiff it on important Trials of Osiris rounds. Ember of Searing, which now not only gives you a nice 10 recovery, but also creates a fire sprite from defeating scorched targets. Fire sprites are these solar energy drops that give you even more grenade energy, which in combination with the orbs of power in our mods just makes the build even more ridiculous. Finally, we run Ember of Mercy, which gives us restoration when we pick up those fire sprites, and also gives us restoration when we revive an ally, which is super clutch for trials. Some of you will say, why aren't you running things like Ember of Char, Ember of Blistering? You actually don't ignite people very often with this build, as an ignition is a separate kind of explosion, which doesn't happen very often with this build unless you hit both a throwing knife and a trip mine grenade close together. The only other viable fragment I would advocate for is Ember of Resolve, whereby solar grenade final blows give you instant healing, which could come in clutch. You could use this over Ember of Mercy or Ember of Searing depending on your personal preference. For your build distribution, the most important stat here is obviously 100 discipline to minimize your trip mine cooldown. Then in joint second, you have both mobility and recovery. Mobility is going to help you minimize your dodge cooldown, allowing you to get your grenade energy back, and then 100 recovery is going to allow you to regenerate your health faster in between engagements. Then go for resilience, intellect, and strength in that order. So there you have it, guys, my updated, absolutely nuts young Ahamkhara's build that will decimate opponents. One of these is absolutely disgusting to play against, and if you have 2 or 3 of these on one trials team, the opponents will probably send hate mail to you. It's that oppressive. If you liked what I talked about today, remember to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more upcoming D2, PvP and PvE builds as we get deeper into Lightfall. I'm Mr. On It, and that's it for today. Peace out, guys.